Hi everyone, Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for another classic review of A Tribe Called Quest's Low End Theory.
A Tribe Called Quest, one of my favorite rap bands. They say all my favorite raps.
You don't know shit.
Yes, I do. I can name all the guys in the band. Q-Top, Pfeiffer's Dog, and Ellie Shammy My Hammer.
Those are not...
And the Rizzer, and the Jizzer, and the Space Ghost Killer, and Akon, the Chief.
Now he's naming Wu-Tang members.
Inspector Gadget, as well as Dancer, and Prancer, and Dopey. A Tribe Called Quest. Good rap band.
A Tribe Called Quest is, at the time of this album, a hip-hop trio. Once a quartet, but at the time of this album, a trio. And they dropped this album in 1991, and it's their sophomore LP, and featured on this record are MC and producer Q-Tip, and MC Phife Dawg, and Ali Shaheed Muhammad, the group's DJ and also a producer too. And on this LP and much of their other work as well, A Tribe Called Quest had a very smooth, thoughtful approach to hip-hop that sets them apart from other hip-hop artists even today. There are loads of jazz and funk and soul samples all over this record, hypnotically head-bobbing percussion, and some really deep, heavy, bassy double bass grooves. Very fat, lots of low end, and all of these things together gave A Tribe Called Quest a pretty distinct sound, which is incredible for a few reasons. It's 1991 again, and there have been quite a few albums in the jazz rap genre already, from KMD, Main Source, Gang Starr, and let's not also forget that A Tribe Called Quest with their debut album, as well as the music being put out by their fellow Native Tongues Posse members De La Soul and Jungle Brothers, who all together were taking a decidedly different approach from a lot of the hardcore hip-hop and gangster rap that was on the come-up at this time. This is something De La Soul actually breaks balls over on the record De La Soul Is Dead on the song Afro Connection at a High Five, where they open the song up with, "This is dedicated to all those hardcore acts," poking fun at what they saw as commercialism and senseless violence and aggression. Bullshit. But it's interesting to think of the context of this record right here, because only a few years later, this album, as well as artists like DJ Premier and the RZA, would change the sonic landscape of hip-hop, at least when it came to East Coast. And just a few years ago, the kind of rudimentary, very bombastic, cluttered, and noisy production from artists like Boogie Down Productions and Public Enemy, as well as Run DMC, was the gold standard. In comparison, the instrumentals that A Tribe Called Quest carry on the Low End Theory are prettier. They have more finesse to them. The details are more subtle, because some of the beats here are deceptively simple, despite having a number of samples spread across the track's runtime. The beats on this LP are rich, melodic, and chocolaty. They just have fantastic grooves, song for song for song. And some of the beats here led to some of A Tribe Called Quest's biggest singles ever, like Check the Rhyme and the song Jazz, which is pretty much jazz rap's mission statement. You could even say that this album is sort of like the cool jazz of hip-hop, kind of like a Bill Evans or Miles Davis or Dave Brubeck. A kind of obvious and cliche comparison for this album, but an apt one all the same, and something that must be said considering the appearance of jazz bassist Ron Carter on this record on the song Verses from the Abstract. This record overall is just very organic and silky, but still carries that very concrete, gritty, down-to-earth and urban vibe that a lot of great hip-hop albums have. And as far as the flows go on this record, Q-Tip and Phife Dawg, with the past 10 years of hip-hop fresh in their minds, build on some familiar flows, fine-tune them, and bring some flows of their own too. And with these flows, they deliver a series of verses that are poetic, they're clever, they're relatable, and socially aware. The narratives in the lyrics on this record usually jump around. I'm sorry. A lot of the songs on this LP feature what seem to be just Q-Tip and Phife Dawg tossing out one philosophical nugget after another. And a lot of what is said in the grooves on this record might be seen as common sense, but given that this common sense isn't really actually taken to heart by many people, this album is kind of a really entertaining reminder of good-natured ideas for living life. Some of this record's statements are just incredibly simple, like be honest and true to the next, or that things move in cycles, both of which are said on the song Excursions, the opening track to this LP, which has one of the most killer instrumentals on the entire album. But this song also features just two very dense, toned down, smooth verses from Q-Tip, which is the formula that leads to a lot of good cuts on this record. But conversely, Phife Dawg on the song Buggin' Out comes across as way more animated, playful, goofy, talking about everything on this song from the mentality behind bugging out to mentioning that he is a big soda drinker and he's never gotten a cavity. Good for him. Phife Dawg and Q-Tip even make sure to end their verses similarly right after one another on this track. They make a really good pair. Of course, there are tracks on this record that are more conceptual and thematic in nature, like Rap Promoter or the song Butter, where Phife Dawg basically tells a tale of love and heartbreak. You're essentially hearing a player's ego get crushed. And then with the song Show Business, a pretty interesting track that is very sharp. It's clever. It's a shot at show business in general and the way that hip-hop works in the music industry, together with Diamond D and Lord Jamar of Brand Nubian, Sadat X as well. They make some pretty burning observations that are even true today when it comes to the music industry's relationship with hip-hop. And what's even funnier is that this song wasn't even what it was intended to be originally. The song's original version, Georgie Porgy, which there are demos of online, is utterly homophobic. This original demo is even more close-minded than that one DMX verse, the one that's like, What? I don't want to touch a man's hand. 'Cause I'm silly. You know, that one. And over the years, A Tribe Called Quest has really gained a reputation for open-mindedness, which would have been a hard sell if that song had managed to stay on their most celebrated album right here. Even still, Q-Tip and Phife Dawg don't shy away from controversy on the song The Infamous Date Rape, a song where Q-Tip basically talks about being led on by a woman, and when it comes that time to, I guess, sort of copulate, she loses interest, and he kind of says that it's not really worth it to pursue because of the unnecessary drama and assault that would occur in going against her wishes. Meanwhile, Phife Dawg's verse deals with getting a false rape accusation after numerous rounds of consensual sex. The song Sky Pager is a bit of an ode to some dated technology that was once a status symbol. The song What is a really interesting and dense verse from Q-Tip that is a series of questions and is one of my favorite rap verses of all time. And the closing track on here, Scenario, is a stellar piece of hardcore hip-hop, one of the most iconic hip-hop singles of all time, with a great feature from Busta Rhymes. Stylistically, it doesn't really fit into the smooth, toned-down nature of the rest of this album, but it's such a significant hip-hop track, it's just hard not to like. At the end of the day, hands down, this is one of the best collections of hip-hop songs ever in the history of the genre. It is a record that helped a new sound and display so much creativity, personality, and talent. Its enjoyability transcends the hip-hop genre. People across musical preferences can enjoy, at the very least, the stellar singles off of this album. I think this album's a classic, and it's really good, and you should listen to it if you haven't already. And you're the best. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? If you have, what do you think of it? And I hope you're doing well. Anthony Fantano, A Tribe Called Quest, forever.